Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. On behalf of the School of Vedic Studies, we welcome you all to this first session of Bhagavad Gita Pravaha, which His Grace Kamal Lochana Prabhu will be taking us through. We want to thank you for your enthusiastic response to this particular course. The fact that you have registered certainly tells us that you're all very inquisitive and keen to know more about the deeper meanings of life, the deeper meanings of spirituality, the deeper meanings of what is true religion, as it has been expounded in the Bhagavad Gita by Lord Sri Krishna himself. So thank you again. Before we go any further, I'll quickly, introduce ourselves to all of you. I'm your host, Rasakrida Parayana Das, and my wife, Apurva Shakti, is the co-host. And you're all in touch with our daughter, Vrinda, who's the course coordinator, because she manages the WhatsApp group and the emails and everything that goes on at the back end. So we are very, very honored, privileged to have you amongst us and giving us an opportunity to serve you all. So now we've got our esteemed teacher, His Grace Kamal Lochana Prabhu, amongst us. He's joined us from the Sri Radha Giridhari Mandir from ISKCON Mira Road in Mumbai. So let me introduce all of you to our esteemed teacher, His Grace Kamal Lochana Prabhu, who is by education a marine engineer and who gave about 3 years of his life to the Merchant Navy before joining the International Society for Krishna Consciousness as a full-time monk back in 1998. Prabhuji has been at the forefront of pioneering preaching as well as leading within our institution. He left the corporate world, but he did not leave the connection with the corporate world because he travels around within India and abroad and spreads the message of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam by conducting various seminars for the corporate as well as for the youth in India and outside of India. We are extremely fortunate to have his association and also the fact that he will be taking us through this wonderful Bhagavad Gita Pravaha in line with the teachings handed down to us by our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. A little bit on the School of Vedic Studies. This institution was put into place about a year back, and we are conducting regular courses and programs with esteemed teachers like His Grace Kamal Lochana Prabhu. We also have His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Maharaj, His Holiness Atma Nivedan Maharaj, where we are doing courses on Srimad Bhagavatam and other scriptures. We also have daily reading sessions in the morning and evenings on Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. So you're most welcome if you're interested to join us for any other courses of ours that are ongoing. Kindly send your interest to our course coordinator, Vrinda. So without much ado, we will hand over the mic to His Grace Kamal Lochana Prabhu to begin our first session of Bhagavad Gita Pravaha. Hare Krishna.
Jaya, Hare Krishna. Welcome all of you to this Gita Pravaha, that is the flow of Bhagavad Gita. And all of you know, Bhagavad Gita is a conversation since it is a conversation, there is a flow, there is a connection between the chapters, connection between the verses and the verses. There are sections, connection between the sections. So we uh, find out what exactly is the connection between these chapters and sections, etc. And also see that how Bhagavad Gita is having some practical value in our life. So we follow the system of our acharyas. You have been given a small booklet which contains the kind of basic notes which we're going to recite every time when we start the class. So this is also displayed on your screen. The first thing which we're going to do today is to sing a small bhajan. This bhajan is called Radha Krishna Tava Bhajan, Jai Radha Madhav. This is written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. At the time, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was one of the 3 district magistrates of the British Raj. He was a great government officer, spent practically a long time in his office. At the same time, he had written wonderful books. Hundreds of books he has written on spiritual life. And he sang this song, and Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya for this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, he had this song. He also sang this song before his class. It's a very simple bhajan. I'm going to sing, and you repeat it in the second line. Initially, you may have some difficulty in doing, but as the time goes, we get used to it. So please sing after me. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari 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 Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Vijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vrajana Ranjana Yashoda
Yashodanandana Vrajana
Dhira Vanachari Yamuna Dhira Vanachari Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava
Kunja
So after singing Jaya Radha Madhav, we have certain prayers which we chant before every class. These prayers are known as Manglacharana. Manglacharana means the auspicious invocation. That is, whenever we actually do any auspicious activity like reading Bhagavad Gita, studying Bhagavad Gita, we are supposed to be dependent on Krishna and our spiritual master Guru and all the devotees. One thing, Bhagavad Gita being a spiritual literature, it is beyond our intelligence. We cannot understand Bhagavad Gita by our intelligence. Don't think that intelligence can capture Bhagavad Gita. No. What actually captures Bhagavad Gita, what actually makes us understand Bhagavad Gita is service. What makes us understand Bhagavad Gita is the mercy of the spiritual master. It's mercy of Krishna. Leshanugrihita evahi janati tattan bhagavan mahimno. Until as we get the grace of Krishna, we cannot understand Bhagavad Gita. There were many scholars who have written theses on Bhagavad Gita, but could not understand because they don't have the mercy of Krishna. So before we go into the understanding and the study of Bhagavad Gita, we chant some verses called Manglacharana. These verses of Manglacharana, known as standard prayers, which they are given to you, in which we pay our obeisances to the spiritual master, to Krishna and all the Vaishnavas, so that if there are any vigna means any obstacles in the Pravaha of our Bhagavad Gita, they all will be destroyed. Or the big obstacles cannot stop our flow. Like Ganga is flowing. If you had been to Badrinath, from there, Bhagirathi, Alakananda flows. It flows between the mountains and the valleys. And there, huge stones sometimes come and fall. There may be landslide, but still the flow of Ganga doesn't stop. The flow of Ganga continues. How is it possible that our flow of Bhagavad Gita should continue without any obstacles or without caring for obstacles? It is only possible by the mercy of Krishna, mercy of Guru, mercy of Vaishnavas. So we chant these prayers every time we meet. So you may be, those of you who are new, may not be able to follow the prayers along with me, but make some similar sounds. Just by hearing and then trying to chant the same thing with great eagerness, Krishna, who is in your heart, will help you to chant these verses properly, will help you in understanding these verses. So don't worry about whether you are able to do it properly or not. Every child, when he starts learning a language, he tries to imitate what we are speaking. And by doing so, the child comes to a perfection. One day, the child becomes an orator. So you don't have to worry that, oh, I'm not able to read. It is a sounds. It's not my language. You may have this feeling. Don't worry. This is not a language. This is not Sanskrit. You may say, oh, it's in Sanskrit. It is in Sanskrit, but it's not Sanskrit. It is spiritual subject matter. These are transcendental sounds. So when I chant, you just hear and then go on trying to repeat or try to make similar sounds what I'm making. Over a period of time, you get the proper pronunciation. Om Ajnanatinmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshururmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupak Tadamayham Dadati Swa Padantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Now, we just now did the Bhajan, Jaya Radha Madhav, which is a very dear bhajan to Srila Prabhupada, our founder Acharya. And after singing the bhajan, we chanted few verses called Manglacharana, so that all the vignas, all the obstacles in the path of our Pravaha, the flow of Bhagavad Gita, will be removed by the mercy of Guru, Vaishnavas and Krishna. And now there are a few verses called Gita Dhyanam, meditation on Bhagavad Gita. So by meditating on the Bhagavad Gita through these verses, our mind becomes prepared. We are preparing ourselves to go into Bhagavad Gita. To do any activity, you require preparation. To cook, you require preparation. You have to cut the vegetables, get the masalas, get the vessels. So without any preparation, we cannot do any activity. In the same way, the study of Bhagavad Gita happens when we do Gita Dhyanam, meditation on Bhagavad Gita. Even again, these verses are quite famous in South India. Many of the verses are written by Srila Shankaracharya himself. So these verses, just go on hearing, and if possible, you are able to make some sounds similar to that. Make it loudly, though they are not very proper, or may not be able to repeat it properly. Now we are going to have 20 sessions. In these 20 sessions, every day when we meet, every time when we meet, we are going to chant these verses. So by the end of these 20 sessions, you will be able to memorize these verses. If not, at least you're able to recite these verses by looking at the paper. So please uh, just give a ardent hearing to these sounds which I'm going to make, which is these verses. Om Partaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavati Mashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandadani Bhagavad Gita Bhagaddeshinim Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Ullaravindayata Patranetra Enatvaya Bharataila Purana Prajwalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha Prapanna Parijataya Stotravetraikapanaya Jnanamudraya Krishnaya Gitamritadruhe Namaha Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogda Gopala Nandanaha Partho Vatsa Sudir Bhokta Dugdam Gitamritam Mahat Vasudeva Sutam Devam Tamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Bhishmadrona Tata Jayadrata Jala Gandhara Nilotpala Shalyagraha Vahati Kripena Vahini Karnena Vela Kula Ashwattama Vikarna Gora Makara Duryodhana Vartini Shrutir Nakalu Pandavirana Nidhi Daivarta Keshava Arascharya Vachas Sarojamamalam Gitardha Gandhodghatam Nanakyana Kesharam Harikata Sambodhana Bodhitam Loke Sajjana Satpadera Haraha Pepiyamanam Muda Bhuyat Bharata Pankajam Kalimalam Pradvanshan Shreyase Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Mande Paramananda Madhavam Yam Brahma Varunendra Rudra Maruta Stunvanti Divyaistave Vedai Sangapada Kramopanishade Gayanti Yam Samaka Dhyanavastita Tadgatena Manasa Pashyanti Yam Yogino Yasyantam Navidusura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. The fourth thing, what we are going to do every time when we meet is to chant selected and the most important 27 verses from the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose is, by the end of these 20 sessions, if you are able to memorize these 27 verses, I will be the most happiest person. Even if you are not able to memorize all the 27 verses, at least you should be able to read, chant them properly. That is one of the objectives. That is this Gita Pravaha. There may be some things which you have understood, may not have understood. Many things you have learned, many things might have learned, not learned. But there are certain objectives, explicit objectives, which I want that you all should be knowing it. That is, at least these 27 verses are from the Bhagavad Gita. You should be able to read them properly. So that is why every time when we meet, I'm going to chant them. So please repeat along with me. As I've told you, that you don't have to worry whether you are able to chant these verses properly or not, because these are all transcendental sounds. Just make similar sounds to what I'm making, and over a period of time, you will be able to get these verses. धृतराष्ट्रवाच धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सव मामका पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत सञ्जय कार्पण्यदोषपतस्वभावः पृच्छामि तां धर्मसम्मूढचेत यश्रेयस्यान्निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधि मां त्वां प्रपन्नम् श्रीभगवानुवाच असोच्चानन्वसोचस्त्वं प्रज्ञावादांश्च भाषसे गतासु न गतासूंश्च नानुशोचन्ति पण्डिता देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनं जरा तथा देहान्तरप्राप्तिर्धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यते मात्रा स्पर्शास्तु कौन्तेय शीतोष्णा सुखदुःखदा आगमापायिनो नित्यास्तां तितीक्षस्व भारत कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्मफलहेतुर्भुर्मा ते सङ्गोत्स्वकर्मणि ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंस सङ्गस्तेषुपजायते सङ्गात् सञ्जायते कामात् क्रोधोऽभिजायते क्रोधात् भवति सम्मोहः सम्मोहात् स्मृतिविभ्रम स्मृतिर्भ्रंशात् बुद्धिनाशो बुद्धिनाशात् प्रणश्यति श्रीभगवानुवाच काम एष क्रोध एष रजोगुणसमुद्भव महाशनो महापाप्मा विद्येनमिह वैरिणम् यदा यदा हि धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति भारत अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम् परित्राणाय साधूनां विनाशाय च दुष्कृतां धर्म संस्थापनार्थाय संभवामि युगे युगे जन्म कर्म च मे दिव्यम् एवं यो वेत्ति तत्त्वतः त्यक्त्वा देहं पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति सोऽर्जुन भोक्तारं यज्ञतपसां सर्वलोकमहेश्वरं सुहृदं सर्वभूतानां ज्ञात्वा मां शान्तिरिच्छति योगिनामपि सर्वेषां मद्गतेनान्तरात्मना श्रद्धावान् भजते यो मां समे युक्ततमो मतः बहूनां जन्मनामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेवः सर्वमिति स महात्मा सुदुर्लभ अन्तकाले च मामेव स्मरं मुक्त्वा कळेवरं य प्रयाति समद्भावं याति नास्त्यत्र संशय पत्रं पुष्पं फलं तोयं यो मे भक्त्या प्रयच्छति तदहं भक्त्युपहृतम् अश्नामि प्रयतात्मनः अहं सर्वस्य प्रभवो मत्तः सर्वं प्रवर्तते इति मत्वा भजन्ते मां हृदा भावसमन्विता मच्चित्त मद्गतप्राण बोधयन्तः परस्परं कथयन्तश्च मां नित्यं तुष्यन्ति च रमन्ति च तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगं तं येन मामुपयान्ति ते तेषामेवानुकम्पार्थम् अहमज्ञानजं तमः नाशयाम्यात्मभावस्थो ज्ञानदीपेन भास्वत श्रीभगवानुवाच मय्यावेश्य मनो ये मां नित्ययुक्ता उपासते श्रद्धया परयोपेतास्ते मे युक्ततमा मता भद्रष्टानुमन्ता च भक्ता भोक्ता महेश्वरः परमात्मेति चाप्युक्तो देहेऽस्मिन् पुरुषः परः मां च युवविचारेण भक्तियोगेन सेवते सगुणान् समतीत्यैतान् ब्रह्मभूयाय कल्पते यो मामेव सम्मूढो जानाति पुरुषोत्तमं सः सर्वविद् भजति मां सर्वभावेन भारत मन्मना भव मद्भक्तो मद्याजी मां नमस्कुरु मामे वैश्य सत्यं ते प्रतिजाने प्रियोऽसि मे सर्वधर्मान् परित्यज्य मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यो मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचा. Now, so all of you know that there are 700 verses in the Bhagavad Gita, out of which we selected 27 of them. And there are 18 chapters in the entire Bhagavad Gita. Actually, Bhagavad Gita is not an independent book in itself. Bhagavad Gita is a part of Mahabharata, rather the central part of Mahabharata. Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitamritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashaadhyayinim. Like Srila Shankaracharya says, Bhagavad Gita has 18 hands of Amba, of Devi goddess, and 18 chapters are there and exactly placed in the middle. Yena tvaya bharata taila purnaha prajvalito jnanamaya pradipaha. Bhagavad Gita is like a lamp. The whole Mahabharata is considered to be a diya. Diya means lamp. Bhagavad Gita is the prajvalito jnanamaya pradipaha, the flame which actually produces the light. You have the mud, earthen lamp. That is in this there is oil also, there is a wick also. But what is the most important part of it? That is the flame, which actually prajwalito. It actually gives the light. So in the Mahabharata, the most important part of Mahabharata is Bhagavad Gita. We all know Bhagavad Gita is actually spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. But the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is a kind of a prologue to the actual Bhagavad Gita, but it is very important for all of us. So today we are going to do a kind of a overview in one sense, or the flow of the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. The first chapter, the first word starts with a question spoken by Dhritarashtra. Now, very interesting. Dhritarashtra is speaking to Sanjaya because Dhritarashtra is blind, he could not take part in the war. Sanjaya is there sitting in the palace, and by the mercy of Vyasa Prasada, Sanjaya is able to narrate what is happening in the battlefield. He is narrating the entire story, what's happening, who did what, who was killed, who is fighting with what, everything. And now Krishna is explaining Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. Just about before that, what is happening, Sanjaya is describing. When he is about to describe Trashtra, he speaks his first verse. The first verse is having a great significance. What is that significance? Is practically the entire Bhagavad Gita is in the first verse itself. Spoken by Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra vacha dharmakshetre kurukshetre samaveta mamaka pandavaschaiva imakurvata sanjaya. So Dhritarashtra is asking a question to Sanjaya. Oh my dear Sanjaya, in this Kurukshetra, which is Dharmakshetra, which is the religious place. Now Dhritarashtra very well knows that Kurukshetra is Dharmakshetra. Very well knows. It is not that he was ignorant person, he knew. Why it is called Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra, why it is called Dharmakshetra? There are so many reasons behind it. But the most important reason for Kurukshetra being called as Dharmakshetra is that the personification of Dharma, Krishna himself, is standing there in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. When Krishna, whose words are Dharma, who is the personification of Dharma, the whole Veda comes from Krishna and establishes Dharma. And when that person is standing there, that Kurukshetra is Dharmakshetra. Now, very interestingly, Duryodhana knew very well that Dhritarashtra knew very well that his sons Duryodhana and all his sons headed by Duryodhana, they are going to die in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Because he says Kurukshetra is Dharmakshetra, and he knew very well Krishna is on the side of the Pandavas, in the side of Dharma, and his sons are on the side of Adharma. And definitely Kurukshetra is going to assist the Pandavas. The place is favorable for the Pandavas, and it is not favorable for his son Duryodhana because they are on the side of Adharma and they are going to be killed in the war. But still Dhritarashtra wanted his sons to fight. And externally he's explaining he's asking, oh Sanjaya, please tell me what is happening to my sons. He's showing externally that I love my sons so much. I cannot live without them. Please tell me, Sanjaya, are they going to be victorious? That is what we feel, that Duryodhana and party, are loved by their father Dhritarashtra. The Dhritarashtra's love for Duryodhana and his sons, that is what we find. That is what is externally shown. Mamaka Pandavas Cheva. My sons and Pandavas, they have assembled Samaveta to fight. Please tell me what has happened or what is happening. Though externally, the Dhritarashtra is expressing his love for his sons Duryodhana. Actually, his love is not for his sons. His love is for his chair. If the Dhritarashtra loved Duryodhana and he definitely knew that Duryodhana is going to be killed, why did he at all send his sons Duryodhana to fight the war? He sent Duryodhana to fight the war so that he want to sit on the chair, Simhasana. He want to be called as Chakravarti. Even for 18 days, at least for that period, I should be on the seat. How do you know that? Because here, the Dhritarashtra, he is asking Sanjaya, please let me know, my sons Duryodhana and all his brothers, they went to the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is Dharmakshetra. I hope they are not influenced by the battle by Dharmakshetra. I am afraid that they will compromise with the Pandavas. I don't want them to compromise the Pandavas. They should fight. Even though they may die, they should fight. Just see. This is called love of the material world. The so-called love which we find in this world is the Dhritarashtra's love. There are only three emotions which a person can have in this world. I love you, nothing to do with you, I hate you. If I am getting some happiness, or if I am expecting some happiness from you, I love you. If neither I get happiness nor misery from you, I have nothing to do with you. If I get misery from you, if I get difficulty from you, I hate you. Only three emotions. Here Dhritarashtra is telling, Mamaka, oh my sons. But if he really had this kind of love, why at all he wanted Duryodhana to fight the war? He knew very well he's going to die. Externally it is shown that Dhritarashtra is afraid of losing his sons. Actually, Dhritarashtra is afraid of losing his seat, losing his position of being the king. That is why say, Kimakurvata Sanjaya. I hope my sons have not compromised being influenced by dharma, being influenced by dharma kshetra. Now, this is the heart or the love of a materialistic person. Like in Hindi, people say, "Oh, tum mere mama, tum mere chacha, tum mere ho, wo ho." These are all nonsense actually. Tum mere mama ne, kaka ne, mitra ne, tum mere kaam ke ho. As long as you have some utility from the person, you say you tum mere ho. You are mine. Actually, first is aham, I, and then other. This is the love of a materialistic person. The first verse of the Bhagavad Gita itself depicts the nature of this world, how horrible it is. Especially the so-called love of this world, it is just based on one's own self-interest. I love you because you're going to give some benefit to me. That is why you find so many divorces. An young boy and young girl, they fall in love with each other and say, I cannot live without you. How can I live without you? I love you. You're mine. Just after 6 months of marriage, you want to take divorce. What happened to all the love? Because when they told, I am yours, you are mine. When that boy or the girl would say to each other, you are mine, that means you are of my use. When I find you're of no use to me, I have nothing to do with you. And the same Dhritarashtra, who is speaking this verse, Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, he is revealing his heart. Saraswati is speaking through him. that how the Pandavas are going to be victorious. The Kauravas, the party, the entire Kaurava party, headed by Duryodhana, they are going to be killed. The very first verse of the Bhagavad Gita spoken by Dhritarashtra heralds to the entire world that the Pandavas are going to be victorious. How? Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. Kshetra means a paddy field, a field where you grow paddy. That is called Kheti. Sheti, word comes from there on Kshetra. So here Dharma is growing. In Kurukshetra is called Dharma Kshetra because that is the place Dharma grows. And who is the farmer who is growing Dharma? Krishna. What does a farmer do? The farmer, he goes and weeds out the unwanted plants, unwanted weeds, so that the paddy grows nicely. And who are those unwanted weeds whom Krishna is going to weed out? It is Duryodhana and all his brothers, the Kauravas. So Krishna is going to weed out Duryodhana and party and protect the Pandavas. That is spoken by Dhritarashtra himself without he knowing what he is speaking. Dharma Kshetre. After hearing this question by Sanjaya, Kimakurvata Sanjaya. When Dhritarashtra asked this question, Sanjaya was very intelligent. He could understand the heart of Dhritarashtra. He says to Dhritarashtra, hey Dhritarashtra, don't worry. As is a father, so is a son. You are blind. As much as you are blind, your son is also blind. No matter which kshetra he goes, which pilgrimage place he goes, he will be as it is. When a donkey goes to pilgrimage place, the donkey will be a donkey only. So even though your son is in the place of pilgrimage of Dharma Kshetra called Kurukshetra, the Kurukshetra has no influence on him. Don't be afraid that your son will become a dharmika. Don't be afraid that your son will be a good person. When people come to our temples, their relatives becomes very afraid. Oh, my son has gone to his temple. Maybe he may become a monk. He may become a good person. Let him be a smoker. Let him be a womanizer. Let him be a drunkard. That is okay. But he should not become a monk. He should not become a good person. There is a fear. So same fear that Dhritarashtra had. My son should not be a dharmika. Should not be a good person. Let him die. I want my seed to be safe. I don't want my son to become a good person and compromise with the Pandavas. So Sanjaya says, Drishtva Pandavanikam Yudam Duryodhanastada Acharya Sangamya Raja Vachana Bhavit. Oh Sanjaya, oh Dhritarashtra, the only difference between you and your son is you are both spiritually blind and materially blind. Whereas your son, Duryodhana, he is spiritually blind, materially is able to see. What is he able to see? Pandavanikam Yudam. He's able to see the nice military phalanx arranged by the Pandavas. When Duryodhana saw the nice military arrangement of the Pandavas, he had fear. The fear had overcome his heart. And now to cover up fear, a person acts diplomatic. If somebody is fearless, he can speak the truth. He need not be diplomat. But diplomacy means to think something else, speak something else and do something else. Here Duryodhana is addressed as Raja because he is a very great diplomat now. He has gone to his junior. In the war, though Dronacharya is Duryodhana's spiritual master or guru, but still here, because the war, his Raja is the king, he could have called Dronacharya, I want to talk to you, but he went to a junior officer's cabin. When a senior officer goes to a junior officer's cabin, means he is in fear. Not only is in fear, he is trying to be diplomatic by encouraging him, instigating him. So Duryodhana went, Acharya Upasangamya, he went to Dronacharya. Raja Vachana Bravit. So no amount of diplomacy can cover the fear which Duryodhana is experiencing. Then Raja says, Dronacharya, Duryodhana says to Dronacharya, Pashyetam Pandaputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamum Vyudham Drupadaputrena Tavasishyena Dhimata. Pashyetam Pandaputranam. My dear Dronacharya, you see, Pashyetam Pandaputranam Acharya Mahatim Chamun. The Pandavas, they have arranged a beautiful and wonderful army. The whole phalanx is arranged in a beautiful way. You know by whom? By the commander-in-chief of the Pandavas. And he is not Drishtabdumna. He is Drupada Putra. He is the son of Drupada. Actually, son of Drupada is Drishtabdumna. Here, Duryodhana, he addresses Drishtabdumna as Drupada Putra. Again, here diplomacy. He wants to instigate Dronacharya. Dronacharya, do you remember? You had an enemy called Drupada. Now the person who is standing in front of you, he is the son of your enemy. He is not Drishtabdumna. Actually, Drishtabdumna is the son of son of Drupada. And Dronacharya and Drupada, they had some long-standing fight between themselves. We'll not talk about the entire story. But here Duryodhana is instigating Dronacharya. Just see, the person who is standing in front of you, he is not your student, Drishtabdumna. He is the son of your enemy. So use all your might and kill him. Not only that, your disciple, Drishtabdumna, he learned the military science from you only and he's trying to fight with you. What kind of foolish person you are? What kind of foolish person you are? The same thing he says, Tavasishyena Dhimata. Your disciple is very intelligent. Just see what is his intelligence? That he learned the science, military science from you and he's using against you. That means you are a fool. Why did you teach the military science to Drishtabdumna, whereas you very well knew that he is born to kill you, but still you taught him. Let me talk about the great warriors on the side of the Pandavas, the Kauravas, on the Pandavas side. Atra Shura Maheshwasa Bhima Arjuna Samayuti. So in this battlefield, on the side of the Pandavas, Shura Maheshwasa, they are great bowmen who are Bhima Arjuna Samayuti. They are equal to Bhima and Arjuna. Yudhano, Viratascha, Drupadascha, Maharataha. He goes on taking the names of people who are on the side of the Pandavas. Krishtaketus Chekitanaha, Kashi Rajascha, Viryavan, Purujit Kunti Bojascha, Saibhyascha, Napungavaha. 6th verse, Yudhamanyascha, Vikranta, Uttamojascha, Viryavan, Sobudro, Drupadiyascha, Sarveva, Maharataha. And all these people are Maharatas. The names are taken. Sobhadro means Subhadra's son, that is Abhimanyu. Drupada, Draupadi's sons were there. They were very powerful. Uttamajascha, all these people are there. Now Duryodhana is telling to Dronacharya, till now I give the list of the soldiers, of the great warriors on the side of the Pandavas. Now let me tell on who are there on our side. Asmakam Tvishishtaye Tan Niboda Vijottama Nayaka Mama Sainyasya Sangyartam Tram Bravimite. Asmakam Tvishishtaye. On our side, whoever are there, Vishishta means special people. I am going to talk not everybody's names. Nayaka Mama Sainyasya Sangyartam Tan Bhavimite. Please listen. I am going to speak to you about the soldiers on my side. Who are they? Bhavan Bhishmascha Karnascha Kripascha Samitinjaya Ashwattama Vikarnascha Saumatistatevacha. Now just see how diplomatic is Duryodhana. He says, you are there, Bhavan. Why we should worry when you are there? Just imagine when somebody tells something to you like that. When you are there, why should worry? You become very enthusiastic. Yes, yes. Yes, I am there with you. And you become very enthusiastic. So here, Duryodhana is instigating Dronacharya. Bhavan, you are there. Oh, Bhishma is also there. Bhishmascha, Karna is also there. In this way, he goes on describing about the different soldiers or the great warriors on his side, and he comes to the point. Anyecha bhava shura. Anyecha bhava shura. Madarte takva jivita nana shastra pranaha sarve yuddha visharada. Very important verse, 9th verse, where Duryodhana is saying that not only these whom I mentioned in the previous verse, like Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, etc. Anyecha Bhava Shura. There are so many other Shura. Shura means very heroic people on my side. Anyecha Bhava Shura. Not only they are very just heroes. Madarte, for my sake, Tekta Jivita. They are so surrendered. They are willing to give up their life for my sake. And Nana Shastra Pranaha, they are really expert in using Shastras and Shastras. Sarve Yuddha Visharada, they are expert in the military war science. Here, Duryodhana, though he is thinking that Madarte Tattva Jivita, but for my sake they are willing to give up their life. Saraswati takes another meaning to it. Saraswati is Vagdevi, the goddess of speech. Only by her mercy we are able to speak. Now Duryodhana is also able to speak because of Saraswati's blessings. And Saraswati takes a different meaning to this verse. Madarte Tattva Jivita. What is the meaning of Madarte? One meaning according to Duryodhana is for my sake. Tattva Jivita means they are going to give their life. They are willing to give up their life more for my sake. They are so surrendered. That is what Duryodhana is thinking. But Saraswati gives another meaning, takes another meaning to it. Madarte, because of me. Tattva Jivita, they are all going to die. One line has two meanings. According to Duryodhana, for my sake, they are willing to give up their life. But according to Saraswati, she is making Duryodhana herald to the entire world. That Madarte, because of me, all the soldiers on my side are going to die. Aparyaptam tadasmakam balam bhishma virakshitam. Paryaptam tudame tesham balam bhima virakshitam. 10th verse. Here Duryodhana uses a pun here. He says to Dronacharya, oh Dronacharya, don't worry. Aparyaptam tadasmakam, on our side, balam bhishma virakshitam. Aparyaptam means immeasurable. Our side, we are all protected by Bhishma, whose strength is immeasurable. Whereas on the side of the Pandavas, there is only Bhima. Bhima's strength is measurable. Paryaptam. By using these words, Duryodhana is actually using a pun, saying that, oh Dronacharya, Bhishma is also listening. What can I say? I know Bhishma's strength is immeasurable. It is aparyapta, immeasurable. But immeasurable has another meaning. That is insufficient. You say na? Aparyapta. Paryapt matra mein hai prasad. Means what? Enough. Plenty of prasad is there. Aparyapta means it is not enough. So, though Bhishma's strength is immeasurable, aparyaptam, but still it is not enough for us. It is not sufficient for us. It is aparyapta for us because of Bhishma's love for the Pandavas. Bhishma, he would take an arrow, put it on the bow, and he with great force he would pull it. But while releasing it out of love for the Pandavas, he would release it very softly. Whereas on the side of the Pandavas, Bhima's strength is limited. Because Duryodhana was always envious of Bhima. When you are envious of somebody, you want to say, hey, he's not much. He's not so beautiful. She's not so beautiful. Oh, he's not much. He doesn't know much. So you try to criticize. So it says Bhima's strength is limited. But it is enough for the Pandavas because he doesn't have any love for me. He doesn't have any love for the Kauravas. He had taken a vow that he's going to drink my blood. So Bhishma. Let us all protect Bhishma. 11th verse. Aireshu sarveshu yatha bhagamastita bhishmameva virakshantu bhavantaha sarvehi eva his. Let us all go and protect Bhishma as soon as Bhishma heard this thing. So, who are you to protect me? Then he took the conch shell. He started the Mahabharata war. The same Bhishma who had told to the entire world that I am going to protect Hastinapura. He started the war. तस्य संजनयन् हर्षन् कुरुवृद्धः पितामहः सिंहनादं द्योच्चैः शङ्को दद्गो प्रतापवान्. Bhishma, he started blowing the conch shell and told Duryodhana, indicated Duryodhana, that I am going to fight with all my strength to kill the Pandavas, but don't have much hope. You will lose the war, you will die. Because Krishna is on the side of the Pandavas. And I am blowing the conch shell. Conch shell is a symbol of Vishnu, is a symbol of Krishna. And that is why everybody's house, they should be conch shell. You blow the conch shell, actually, the blowing of the conch shell itself removes all the inauspicious things in your house. Because conch shell is a symbol of Vishnu. And all the Kauravas, they started playing their trumpets, they're playing their bugles, etc. That time, Krishna and Arjuna are there on the chariot. ततः श्वेतेर्हयैर्युक्ते महती स्यन्दरे स्थितौ माधवः पाण्डवाश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्कौ प्रतक्मतुः. माधवः पाण्डवाश्चैव दिव्यौ शङ्कौ प्रतक्मतुः. ततः श्वेतेर्हयैर्युक्ते. They are sitting on a beautiful chariot with 4 horses, white horses. And Krishna and Arjuna blew their conch shells. And these conch shells are being described as divyau. They are transcendental. When the Kauravas blew their conch shells, they are not being described as transcendental. And the names of the conch shells are given here. Panchajanyam Rishikeshu. Krishna had a conch shell named as Panchajanya. Devadattam Dharanjaya. Aundrodadgo Mahashankom Vivakarma Vikodaraha. Bhima, he had his conch shell fountain. In this way, all the Pandavas, they blew their conch shells. Ananta Vijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthira 16 to 18. Nakula Sadevascha Sukosho Mani Pushpakau Kasyascha Parameshwasa Shikandi Maharata Tushutno Viratascha Shatikischa Prajitaha Drupado Drupadeyascha Sarvashaha Prithvipate Sobhadrascha Mahabahu Shankam Dudhmo Pratak Prataka. So they started playing different conch shells, which are names are all given here. What happened? Saghosho Datrashtranam Hridayani Midharayat. When the Pandavas blew their conch shells, what happened? The hearts of Duryodhana and his sons, the Kauravas, and his brothers, Kauravas, they were all shattered. Pandavas had only 7 Akshayani army. The Kauravas had 11 Akshayani army. The sound of the 11 Akshayani army should be more than the sound of the 7 Akshayani army. So when the Kauravas blew their conch shells and bugles and the kettle drums, Pandavas had no fear. But the Pandavas, when they blew their conch shells, when they blew their kettle drums and bugles, etc., the Kauravas' hearts were shattered. They are fearful. It is because of the Pandavas' faith in Krishna. Krishna protects me, will protect us in all circumstances. Those who have this faith that Krishna, Avashya Rakshime Krishna, Rakshatyati Vishwaso. Those who are surrendered to Krishna and have deep faith that Krishna will protect me in all circumstances, they will never be disturbed in any circumstance. Atha vyavastitam drishtva ratarashtan kapidvajaha pruteshu sampate dhanurudhyama pandava rishikeshan dadavakyam idamaha mahipate. So now Arjuna, he took an arrow and placed it on the bow. Pravrutte shastra sampate. Then he thought, let me see who are there on the side of the Kauravas whom I am going to fight. So Arjuna started speaking to Krishna. In this way, the first chapter we have completed till half. You will be given few questions based on the first chapter. Answers will be found in the Bhagavad Gita as it is. Please answer them and give it back to us. And we'll continue the first chapter next week. because second chapter I go in 2 days. So we'll try to accommodate the rest of the verses in first chapter in the next coming week. So it is first day. So we had some introduction, etc. We lost around 10 minutes, 15 minutes in that. And this time, when we meet, next time when we meet, we'll start from 21st verse onwards. If you have any questions, one or two questions can be taken up. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Kamal Lochana Prabhu. So we will, end the session here now with a small, request and urge that, in order to keep the flow on in your learning from these sessions, please do make sure that you keep attending till the end of the course. As Prabhuji said, we will send you the assignments. Try to, complete those, assignments, which are, the answers will be from the Bhagavad Gita as it is, from the purports of Prabhupada. So you'll have to, read a bit to answer those or to do those assignments. And you can send that back to us before the next session. That means by Saturday next. And you can also visit our YouTube channel, School of Vedic Studies, and also share it with others and subscribe. So thank you again for your participation. Thank you, Kamal Lochana Prabhu, for guiding us through in the first session on the Bhagavad Gita Pravaha. So as we always do, His Grace Kamal Lochana Prabhu ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, and we pay our respects to our teacher by saying, Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you all very much for your association. Thank you, Kamal Lochana Prabhu, for your, giving us your valuable time, taking us through these wonderful sessions. Hare Krishna. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe and healthy. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.